Okay, I'm going to present my entire screen so we can look at It's Learning Today. Okay, on It's Learning Today, I am on the course homepage. There's some information for Bridge-only students on today's work, okay? So you don't need to worry about all of the things written, okay? The things that you are working on. Here in a moment, we're going to listen to a story together called Jamestown Settlement Story, okay? When we finish listening to that, you will be working on your things, okay? So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you what those things look like. Today we have a compare and contrast Pocahontas. You're going to write your name. It says answer the following question in yes ma'am format. That is the last question. So first off, it wants your name. Then it would like what I'd like you to do. It says, what are some details you learned about real life Pocahontas? Because today we're talking and learning about real life Pocahontas. So you're going to write some things about her real life. And then what are some details you learned about movie Pocahontas? You're going to write those things down from the movie that we watched. And then the last question is our yes ma'am format. Remember, that is 4 sentences or more. It's in paragraph form. It's not one word. It's not one sentence. It's 4 sentences. We looked at what yes ma'am is supposed to look like on Friday. So it says, how is the movie Pocahontas and the real life Pocahontas similar and how are they different? So you're taking a moment, you're writing how they're the same and how they're different in complete sentences, and you need to have at least 4 sentences. Remember to restate your question as well. After that, you have a day of thanks. This is a little article about Thanksgiving. It's pretty short here that you're going to read. It's about basically the first Thanksgiving, okay? And how Thanksgiving is celebrated in Canada and the U.S. So you're going to answer these questions in complete sentences. It says, in what year was the first Thanksgiving celebrated in North America? Where did it take place? So you're going to write a complete sentence there. When is Thanksgiving celebrated in the United States? When is Thanksgiving celebrated in Canada? In Canada, the main focus of Thanksgiving is the harvest. According to the article, what's the main focus of Thanksgiving in the United States? That's a complete sentence. Why does the harvest season arrive earlier in Canada than the United States? That's a complete sentence. And then write a paragraph to describe some of your family's Thanksgiving traditions. Tell who you're with during Thanksgiving and what special things you do on that day. So then that gives you a little journal entry for you to write about your personal Thanksgiving as well. When you finish that, you have a writing complex sentences. It has instructions here. It says a complex sentence contains an independent clause plus one more dependent clause. We talked about this last week. It says a dependent clause, example, even though it was late, Kate wanted to stay up to watch the movie. The section that says even though it was late is a dependent clause because it can't be a sentence on its own. So it says turn the following simple sentences into complex sentences by using subordinating conjunction in parentheses, then write the sentence. So we weren't able to go to the zoo because you would write that down and then you'd write something short after it that cannot be its own sentence by itself. So if I were to do this, I would type something like, we weren't able to go to the zoo because because it rained. So I would have a comma after zoo because it showed that already. Because it rained is not a sentence by itself, but together this creates a complex sentence because we weren't able to go to the zoo can be a complete sentence on its own, okay? So that's what you're doing with these sentences here. You have about 8 of them or so that you are writing basically what the sentence says, and then you're including what's in the parenthesis, and then you're adding a little bit extra information that cannot be a sentence by itself, okay? Then you have IXL and Epic when you are finished, okay? So pretty simple day today. I'm going to get the story ready for Jamestown Settlement Story, and I will make sure that's assigned to you as well in case you want to go back and look at it. So I'm going to go to online resources and then What? Only one. Come on. There we go. I actually think it's Unit 5. I want to say week 5. I'm gonna wonder. I don't remember what week this story was. I have to check every week now. It might be week 2, actually. No, what? Or is it Unit 6? Give me just a moment. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the story. I forgot where the story was. Okay, maybe it's in Unit 6 then. You know what? I'm going to call Mrs. Person. She can probably answer this for me a lot faster than I can find it. So just give me a moment. The story isn't loading like I wanted it to, so hold on just a moment for me. She's not able to answer, so I guess I have to go to my drive real quick. Sorry, it's taken so long. I should have had the story ready beforehand, but I did not. So I'm going to pause our recording and I resume recording. Here is our story. This is about the first thing, Jamestown and all of those things, okay? So we're going to get started listening.
Time for Kids, where it all began. Take a tour of Jamestown, Virginia, the birthplace of America. They thought they were lost. The Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery had sailed from London, England on December 20th, 1606. The expedition was bound for Virginia, carrying 144 people. Finally, on April 26, 1607, the ships sailed into Chesapeake Bay. In the words of one voyager, they found fair meadows and goodly tall trees. On an island in a river, they built a fort and named it after their king, James. Jamestown would become the first successful, permanent English settlement in the New World. The struggle to survive. There is a proverb that says, "Ignorance is bliss." In the case of the 104 men and boys who came ashore, this was true. They were faced with tremendous challenges. The water from the James River was not safe to drink, and food was scarce. 2 weeks after the settlers arrived, 200 Indians attacked them, the building of the Jamestown settlement in 1607. John Smith, an experienced military man, became head of the colony in 1608. He had been in charge of finding local tribes willing to swap food for English copper and beads. Smith was tough with both the Indians and Englishmen. "He that will not work shall not eat," he told the colonists. Smith knew that an attitude of every man for himself would endanger the colony. The western Chesapeake area was ruled by Chief Powhatan, who governed an empire of 14,000 Algonquian-speaking peoples. His daughter, Pocahontas, became a useful friend and ally to John Smith. Pocahontas saved the life of Captain John Smith, the real-life Pocahontas. Princess Mataoaka, was born around 1595. Her father, Chief Powhatan, called her Pocahontas. She saved John Smith's life twice, and he wrote that Pocahontas's wit and spirit were unequaled. Pocahontas married a planter named John Rolfe, the first marriage in that era between an Englishman and a Native American woman. Rolfe, Pocahontas, and their son visited London. She never returned home. She fell ill aboard a ship bound for Jamestown in March 1617 and died.
Okay, so what we're seeing here, first off, if we notice, this is a little different than the Pocahontas we watched in the movie, because in the movie she fell in love with John Smith, but in real life she actually married a man named John Rolfe and ended up having a son and going to London. So if you've ever seen Pocahontas #2, that's about that story there. So you have some differences and similarities that you can write about already for your writing later today.
Taking a closer look. Archaeologists digging in Jamestown have discovered Indian artifacts along with English ones, evidence that Indians lived in the fort for some time. It must have been a very close relationship, says William Kelso, an expert in colonial American archaeology. Kelso has worked for 10 years to document this site. His team has managed to uncover more than 1 million artifacts and has mapped out the fort's shape, its foundations, and a burial ground. Jamestown left a record of greed and war, but it was also the start of representative government. The settlers gave America a solid foundation to build upon.
Okay, that's the end of our story. So pretty short story. I'm going to take a moment and assign it too, so you can definitely go back to it, because there's some information you may not remember for that compare and contrast assignment. So I'm going to assign this as, I'm going to label it Pocahontas. So you know where to find it. I apparently can't spell Pocahontas. There we go. Okay, so we just finished listening to our story. What you are going to be doing on our course homepage today, most of these things you can do by yourself since we've already done them, or it's pretty simple. You're going to work on the compare and contrast between the movie and the information we just learned about. If you need to go back to the story, it is assigned to you. You have your Day of Thanks article that you're going to read and answer questions, and then you have your writing complex sentences. I excel this as practicing sentence types such as question, command, statement, and exclamation. So you're going to be practicing those for 15 minutes, and then you have Epic. We will have our math lesson at 10:30 today, like we normally do. And then we also at 11:45 will have a writing meeting today, okay? Your special today is gym at 2:00. So when you finish your writing time, you have your makeup work time, your lunch, and your recess, and then at 2:00 you have PE. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording.